First up is Ruth Weiss. We have to get her going because she's got a meeting here coming up. Ruth has been California has been a test bed for at least a decade of some horrifying election laws and cheats that have swept the nation in November. And Ruth is the vice president here for California Election Integrity Project. As you know, she's constantly fighting for free and fair elections for us. Today, she's returning to SVARW, which is great, to tell us about some bad bills that they've planned for 2021, which are aimed at canonizing the extremely lax election that you saw happen in November. So please welcome Ruth.
Thank you, Wendy. And I'm going to share my screen here very quickly so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. Oh, this is crazy. There we go. Okay, I just want to very quickly run you through some things. As you know, we're early in the session. There will be a lot more bills that will be brought to bear, but there are very few right now, and they're already quite alarming. So I wanted to share with you this. And as the senator so aptly said, the point is to geometrically share this information, get it out there. And I couldn't have said it better. I am so grateful that she said that we have to be involved with our legislators, whether they are on our side or not. It's so easy to say, well, it won't do me any good to talk to or write to or phone my legislator because, you know, they're not on our side. But if they don't hear from us, then they think there is only one side. And so Shannon was very, very right about it. And I hope you will follow through with that and really get active to fight some of this stuff. SB 29 has been mentioned earlier in the call, and it does extend the emergency measures of sending vote by mail ballots to every single person on the voter registration list, whether they're dead or whoever, for another year. But I have to tell you that's going to pass. There is nothing we can do to stop it. We did attend the hearing. We testified in the hearing. Many of you heeded our, can we get somebody to mute, please? We did, many of you heeded our call and called in and helped us to fight back against that law. But if you were listening in on that call, it's perfectly obvious that their mind is made up before these meetings. I'm sure they didn't look at any of the statistics that we provided. They spent the committee time patting everybody on the back and saying that we had the cleanest, the smoothest, most wonderful election in the history of mankind in California in 2020, which is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But that's what they truly believe, or that's what the message they want you to believe. So SB 29 is going to pass, but all of the elections in this coming year, there won't be very many, and they're all special elections. What we really need to fight is AB 37, which extends those emergency measures forever. And they're going to say, hey, it worked so well in 2020 and it really increased the voter turnout. And on that argument of, hey, we want more voter turnout, and this did it. This did it. And our question is, okay, this did it, but how much of that increase were voters that had no right to cast a vote, or voters who cast a duplicate vote? How much of that increase had nothing to do with mailing out ballots to everybody willy-nilly, but had everything to do with the fact that this was the most contentious, exciting, people-driven election in the history of the country. So there was going to be huge voter turnout regardless of what they did. But because you can never compare voter turnout one election to the other. It's apples and oranges, because you have to look at the political environment to see what drives voter turnout. Well, they're not looking at that. And so they're saying the one and only reason that we had increased voter turnout was because of AB 860 and sending everybody a ballot. And that's just insane. So we need to fight AB 37. It is still incipient. It hasn't reached committee yet. We're going to keep an eye on it, but we're going to go through the process. We will testify in every committee that it's heard in. We will call on you and for you to call on others to make your dissatisfaction with this bill known early and often with your own legislator. We ask you to please make the time to be there when they are hearing this bill in these various committees, because as someone who's calling in, you will have the right to get the floor. And they don't let you give arguments, but they do let you give your name, your affiliation, and your position on the bill. And if they hear, as we did with the AB 860, they had 900 people call in that hearing, all of us against AB 860. And we knew we weren't going to defeat it, but what that did was get a very important amendment to AB 860 before it was passed that really saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of illegal votes from happening. So we do make a difference when we push, and we need you to join this effort. That's going to be one of our two major focuses this year with Election Integrity Project in an off year. One is the lawsuit that Shannon mentioned, and the other is trying to up our game with communicating with the state legislature. They've also proposed AB 53, which is making Election Day a holiday. And the way that they're going to do that without adding a holiday is that it'll only be a holiday in even years, and then in odd years, we'll celebrate President's Day instead. So they're going to alternate President's Day with Election Day. At the same time, pushing vote by mail to the extent that they don't want any voting in person, then why would Election Day need to be a holiday? They've already pushed Election Day to be 11 days instead of 1 day. So, this is a ridiculous bill. I don't know how far it will go. SB 90 is another ridiculous one. And these are retreads from the last legislative session. Requires the ballot label, which it means when you look at your ballot and there's a little short 1 or 2 line explanation, oh yeah, this is the bill that, just reminding you what it is that you're voting on. But this requires now that ballot label will also contain the names and affiliations of all of the major proponents and opponents of that particular measure, which is going to lengthen the ballot. It's going to complicate the ballot. It's going to confuse voters with information they already have in their sample ballot. So again, this is a ridiculous bill. It's a retread from last time. They want to pass that. SB 35, I really don't know how to feel about this at this point, but it's extending the no electioneering zone around polling locations. It is now 100 feet. Now they want to extend it to 200 feet. We haven't taken a position on this one yet. We'll do some thinking about it. But this one, I wanted to bring up to you simply because I wanted you to see the ridiculousness of some of the legislation that they think needs to be passed. For initiatives and referenda, the ballot shall read, shall the statute or ordinance, blah, 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 shall it be rejected or adopted? So every time you're going to vote on Prop A, Prop B, Prop C, Prop 12, it will say, shall this be rejected or adopted? That's not a yes or no question. Is it? That's not a yes or no question. You can't say yes because yes what? Rejected or adopted, which? And then they're going to have yes or no as the voter's response. And so it gets very complicated. And so their explanation is going to be that if a voter marks the voting target next to yes, then the vote is counted in favor of the referendum and against adoption of the ordinance. If the voter marks the voting target next to the printed word no, then the voter shall be counted against the referendum and in favor of adoption of the ordinance or statute. I don't know about you. I think I have a fairly decent intellect and I can't even understand that. Voters are not going to have any idea whether yes means yes or yes means no, because they're answering a non-yes no question with a yes or a no. This is designed to further confuse the electorate, to further take away the voice of the people, as they consistently do when they rewrite the descriptions of initiatives so that they don't appear to be what they really are. This is just further mishmash from the legislature. And quite frankly, at this point, I don't know whether to oppose this and speak up against it and take all the time and effort, or whether it's going to die under its own the weight of its own absurdity. But we're going to keep an eye on this one, and we may end up having to go on and do the full press to say, "Are you kidding me?" How citizens can help with this? Those are the 4 election laws that right now are on the docket. There will be more each day. Everything changes, but right now, and I haven't even talked about the efforts to amend the Constitution, which are different bills, but they're kind of sitting dormant at this moment. First of all, it's important that every single person on this call and every single person that is an acquaintance or a friend or family member of every single person on this call, you got to do this. go to our website. Just type in eip-ca.com. That's enough, and it'll get you there. Click on the California icon. Get on our contact list. Accept our emails. We very rarely send them out, and when they do, they're important. They're alerts about legislation and things like that. When you receive an alert, we ask that you respond, and then you share that alert. Respond means do what we ask you in the alert. Make the phone call, write the email, call in and participate in the hearing. We need that. And a lot of you have complained, hey, well, we get such short notice. That's because the legislature gives us short notice. Their effort, they don't post things on the website until the very last second. They don't want citizen participation. And they hate this COVID thing in terms of having the necessity now of opening it up to phone participation, because prior to this, the only way you could participate is to actually hoof yourself to Sacramento and squeeze yourself into that little room and be part of the crowd that was there. And so people like me in San Diego, there was no way we could do that. Now we can, because it's all by phone. We need you to do that and be there and call in and speak up on these bills. As Shannon said, if they never hear anything from the other side, then they don't know there is another side. And slowly we can wear them down. Let's be sure that our legislators know that they need to listen to the people's voice, that sooner or later, what they're doing is going to get out there far enough that their seats are not completely safe. And so that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. So I want to thank you. If there are any questions, I have a couple of minutes, I could take some.
Yeah, we have a couple questions here. Pat Haar, who's our next speaker, says, isn't it a good idea to have an election holiday because we need to push for more in-person voting?
Well, if they were making in-person voting something that's going to become something that grows over time, then we might consider that. It's already a holiday. I mean, it's on the books. It has been forever and ever that you get 2 hours of paid time. Your employer is required to release you for 2 hours during the election day to go and vote with no penalties. Most people don't work 13 hours a day, and the polls are open for 13 hours. So that kind of begs the question, really. But having it being election day being a holiday when there is no longer an election day. We have 30 days of voting in California. We have in many counties 11 days of in-person voting. And as of AB 860, virtually all but 19 counties had at least 4 days of in-person voting. So what we've done is pretty much eliminate the fact that there is an election day, especially when you don't even require all votes to be in by the end of election day. And California said, okay, we're going to allow votes to come in up to 17 days after election day. So which day is your holiday now? We don't want to focus on minutia. I think it's also a move, if you really look at it, to diminish the importance of election day and patriotism, and not election day, but President's Day. And so before we start talking about having election day off, we need to reestablish an election day. And we need to reestablish voting in person, and we need to stop voting by mail, because that's the reason that so much manipulation of this election was possible and will continue to be possible going forward. In California, this is just a runaway train. I don't know how we stop it, but we stop it, I think, with public education. And that's what we need to work on.
And it's scary. It's sweeping the nation. And like you were saying, it's sort of conflating President's Day with the elections. It's kind of crazy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Cindy and group. I've really appreciated it. And anytime you want updates, just give me a call.
Will do. Okay. Thanks, Ruth. Talk to you soon.